Have you ever stood at the edge of a cliff, staring into the vast unknown, with no idea what lies ahead? That feeling of uncertainty can be overwhelming. We've all been there, caught between where we've been and where we're going, without a clear path in sight. Life, in its mysterious way, often leaves us with more questions than answers. But what if I told you that, even in those moments of confusion, there's one truth that never wavers? God knows what's next for you. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast, unknown world, the wind in your face, and no map to guide you. The uncertainty of life weighs heavy on your heart, doesn't it? We've all found ourselves there, caught between the past and the future, unsure of what the next step holds. It's that feeling of looking into the abyss, not knowing what awaits just beyond the horizon. It can be paralyzing, unsettling, and at times terrifying. But here's the thing that might surprise you. God knows exactly what comes next for you. We often spend so much time trying to predict the future, to map out every detail, to hold on tight to some semblance of control. We think that by worrying about every outcome, we can somehow prepare ourselves for the unknown. But the truth is, it's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay to step into the unknown without knowing what's waiting for you around the corner. God has your back, and He's not surprised by your uncertainty. When we feel unsure of the road ahead, it's easy to forget that God is never caught off guard. He's not intimidated by the twists and turns of life. What if in those moments of uncertainty, the unknown becomes a place where God's strength and wisdom shine through? We may not understand why we're walking through a particular season, but looking back, we can often see how it was exactly what we needed at that time. Don't think about it for a moment. How many times have you found yourself in a situation you didn't understand, only to look back later and realize it was part of a bigger plan? When you don't know what's next, remember this: God does. He's already ahead of you, preparing the way. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to trust that God is already working things out. The unknown isn't something to fear. We often see it as a barrier to our peace, our happiness, and our success. But what if the very thing we fear, the uncertainty, is the place where God's greatness can shine the brightest? We all long for certainty. We want to know what's coming next. We want the plan laid out before us. But God doesn't need us to have it all figured out. He just needs us to trust Him when we don't have the answers. It's in those moments of uncertainty that our faith is stretched. It's when we surrender our need for control and embrace the unknown that we give God the opportunity to move in ways we never imagined. Think about the story of Abraham. God didn't show him the whole path. He just asked him to take the next step in faith. And that's all God asks of us, as we continue on this journey of uncertainty. Let's remember that even when we can't see the next step, God is already there, preparing the way. Let's explore further how trusting God in the unknown can lead to unimaginable growth and blessings in our lives. Recap of the journey. Last time, we explored the powerful truth that even when we don't know what's ahead, God does. His plan is unfolding for us, even in the moments of uncertainty. And today, we dive deeper into how trusting God's timing and embracing the unknown can lead to unimaginable blessings. Can you imagine the leap of faith it took for Abraham when God asked him to leave everything behind? His family, his home, his sense of security, everything familiar was to be abandoned. He was told to journey to a land he had never seen, to a place he didn't know. That moment of uncertainty must have gripped his heart. Yet Abraham didn't hesitate. He didn't step out because he knew what awaited him. He stepped out because he knew the one who was leading him. And as we know, God didn't disappoint him. The unknown became a stepping stone toward God's promises for Abraham. So today, let me remind you, don't fear the uncertainty in your life. Embrace it. Because in that space where you say, I don't know, God is waiting to reveal himself to you in a way that will change your life. The unknown isn't something to run from. It's a place where God's greatness can shine brightest. You might be sitting here today, feeling like life is a puzzle with pieces missing, unsure of how everything fits together. The frustration of not seeing the bigger picture is real. But I want to tell you something powerful. God has a plan for you. A plan that's greater than anything you could ever design for yourself. It's easy to get lost in the noise of the world, the deadlines, the pressures, the expectations. We often begin to believe that if we don't have everything figured out by now, we've somehow missed the mark. But trusting God's plan means resting in the knowledge that he has already mapped out your future, even if you can't see it right now. The truth is, God's plan doesn't require your full understanding. It requires your obedience. We often want to know every detail, but God calls us to take the next step in faith, even when we can't see the road ahead. Take a moment to think about Joseph in the Bible. His journey was filled with betrayal, imprisonment, and heartache. Yet God was working his plan through it all, plans Joseph couldn't see at the time. It wasn't until the right moment came that Joseph could look back and understand the purpose of his struggles. The pain he endured was not without meaning. Your life is not a random series of events. God has already written your story, and he's guiding you every step of the way. Even when things don't make sense, trust that his plan is still unfolding. It's leading you to greater things than you could ever imagine. Have you ever found yourself asking, why is this happening right now? Why am I still waiting? It's a question we all wrestle with. We often struggle with God's timing because it doesn't align with our own. We want answers today, progress now. But remember this, God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to us. We are impatient by nature, rushing through life, eager to reach the next stage, the next breakthrough. But God doesn't rush. His timing is precise. It's intentional. It's deliberate. Every delay, every pause, every waiting season, there's purpose in it all. What might feel like a setback in your life could actually be God preparing you for something far greater than you could have imagined. Take the story of David. When God anointed him as king, he didn't immediately sit on the throne. Instead, David spent years running, hiding, and fighting battles. And those years of waiting, they were not wasted. They were shaping him for the role he was called to do. As we continue, let's dive into how waiting on God's timing is not just about patience. It's about understanding that every season, every challenge, and every delay is working together to fulfill his perfect purpose. Recap of the journey. Last time, we reflected on how God's timing and preparation shape our lives. As we wait, we trust that God is working behind the scenes, building our character, strengthening our faith, and preparing us for what's next. David's waiting season wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. God wasn't being silent. He was developing David's character, strengthening his faith, and building the resilience he would need to rule over a nation. And just like David, your waiting season is not a time of inactivity. It's a time when God is molding you into the person you need to be for what he has in store for you. If you're waiting today, whether for a breakthrough, a door to open, or a change to happen, remember this: God's delay is not a denial. It's a sign that he is actively working in your life, preparing you for what's next. You are exactly where you need to be. And when the time is right, He will open doors that no one can shut. Trust in His perfect timing, because God is never late. He's always right on time. How often do we find ourselves praying for something specific, convinced that we know exactly what we need? Whether it's a job, a relationship, financial stability, or healing, we make our requests known, hoping that God will give us exactly what we've asked for. But what happens when God doesn't answer the way we expect, or when He says not yet? The truth is, God knows your needs better than you do. He sees things you cannot see, and He understands what you truly need in ways that go far beyond your understanding. Sometimes, we think we know what's best for us. We want something that seems good in the moment, but God, in His infinite wisdom, sees the bigger picture. He knows what we need at the right time, as Jesus tells us in the Bible. If we, being human, know how to give good gifts to our children, how much more will our Heavenly Father give us what we truly need? But here's the key: God gives us what we need, not always what we want. It's easy to get caught up in desiring things that we think will fulfill us, but those desires may not always align with what's best for our growth or our future. Look at the example of the Apostle Paul. He asked God to remove the thorn in his flesh, something that caused him great pain. But God didn't remove it. Instead, He told Paul, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness," to Corinthians 12:09. In that moment, what Paul thought was a need wasn't actually what he needed most. What he truly needed was to experience God's strength in his weakness. So when you feel like God isn't answering your prayers the way you expected, remember that He knows exactly what you need. Sometimes, what's held back from us isn't a denial, it's divine protection. Trust that God sees your needs from an eternal perspective, and His provision will always align perfectly with your purpose. God will provide exactly what you need, when you need it. When you're in a season of uncertainty, it can feel like nothing is happening. You may be looking around, wondering why your breakthrough hasn't come yet, why your prayers seem unanswered, or why things are moving slower than you hoped. But here's the truth: God is preparing you for blessings that you can't even imagine right now. What you see as waiting is actually divine preparation. God never wastes a season. Every moment of waiting, every challenge, every setback is a part of His plan to shape and equip you for the greatness ahead. So, as you move forward, remember that even in seasons of waiting, God is working on your behalf. What seems like a delay may actually be His way of preparing you for something greater than you can see. Trust His timing, trust His plan, and keep moving forward in faith. Recap of the journey: in the previous section, we explored how God's timing and preparation shape our lives, even in seasons of waiting. Today, we dive deeper into how the journey through uncertainty is not only about waiting, it's about being prepared for the blessings ahead. Imagine walking through a desert, not because you've been forgotten, but because you are being prepared for something far greater. Think about the Israelites. They wandered the desert for 40 years, not because God had abandoned them, but because He was preparing them to enter the promised land. That desert experience, as difficult as it was absolutely necessary for their growth. It was in the wilderness that they learned to rely on God, to grow in their faith, and to be equipped for the blessings that awaited them. The promised land was right there, but they needed to be ready for it. God doesn't just give us blessings without preparing us to handle them. Sometimes in the waiting, God is strengthening our character, teaching us patience, and refining our hearts before He opens the door to the next season. Your blessings may be just around the corner, but He will only release them when you're ready to steward them well. you see, even when you can't see it. God is building unseen blessings as you walk through the unknown dark. So don't despair in the waiting. Trust that God is at work in ways you can't always see. He's shaping your future, even when you don't feel it. And when the time is right, He will pour out blessings on you that will exceed your expectations. Keep trusting, keep growing, because your preparation is positioning you for the breakthrough that's coming. Now, let's talk about something powerful that happens when you choose faith over fear. Fear tries to paralyze you. It wants to make you question your future, doubt your purpose, and second-guess every decision you make. Fear will try to convince you that the unknown is too risky, too dangerous, and that you're not equipped for what lies ahead. But here's the difference. Faith doesn't just acknowledge the unknown. It steps into it with confidence, knowing that God is already there. Let's be real for a moment. Fear is natural. It's human to be afraid of what you cannot see. 2. Be anxious about what you cannot control. But here's the key. Fear is a liar. Fear tells you that you're not enough, that you won't make it, that you're too small for the challenge. But faith reminds you that God is enough, that He has already gone before you, and that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Take a moment and think about Peter walking on water. He stepped out of the boat in the middle of a storm and impossible situation. For a moment, his faith kept him walking on the water. But when fear overtook him, he began to sink. Faith keeps you afloat, but fear will drown you. You don't have to know what's next to take the next step. What you need is to step out in faith, trusting that God is right there with you. Even in the unknown, fear will always try to tell you that you're not ready, that you're not capable. But faith will tell you that with God, you are more than enough. For what's next, the fear of the unknown can keep you stuck. But faith in the one who holds your future will propel you forward, even when you can't see the full picture. So today, choose faith over fear. Step into the unknown with confidence, knowing that God is already ahead of you, preparing the way. Don't let fear control your steps. Let faith guide you toward the breakthrough that's on its way, darkness. You continue on your journey. Remember that stepping out in faith can lead to blessings beyond anything you can imagine. The unknown isn't something to fear, it's the place where God's greatness can shine. Stay faithful, keep trusting, and let God lead you forward. Recap of the journey. In the previous section, we discussed how faith overcomes fear and keeps us moving forward, even when the path ahead seems uncertain. Now, let's explore how God's perfect plan is unfolding for you, even in times of change and uncertainty. There are moments in life when we may feel uncertain about where we're headed. You might look at your circumstances and wonder if you're on the right path, or if you've missed your opportunity. It's easy to feel lost when the road ahead seems unclear. But today, I want to remind you, your purpose is secure in God's hands. You are not here by accident. God didn't create you for random circumstances or pointless wandering. From the very beginning, He knew you, your purpose, your destiny, and the unique gifts and talents He placed inside you. Even when you can't see it, your purpose is unfolding according to God's perfect plan. Think about Esther. She was just an ordinary girl in an extraordinary situation, facing challenges and fears that seemed impossible to overcome. Yet, in the midst of it all, God had a purpose for her to save her people. Esther didn't know her purpose at first, but when the time came, it was revealed. As she rose to the occasion, her purpose was secure, even when she didn't fully understand it. And just like Esther, your purpose is secure too. It's not dependent on your circumstances, your mistakes, or your doubts. It is founded on the fact that God has already prepared good works for you to do. Ephesians 10. You may not know all the steps ahead, but trust this. The steps you take today are leading you toward fulfilling the purpose God has for you. Don't let confusion or setbacks make you think your purpose has been lost or delayed. God's plan for you is unshakable. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events and aligning opportunities to bring you to the place where your purpose will be fully realized. Trust in every season of uncertainty. So, stand firm today, knowing that the work you're doing, even in the waiting, is part of the greater purpose God has for you. You are exactly where you need to be, and nothing can take away the purpose God has already ordained for your life. Change. It's one of the most intimidating words in the human vocabulary. The idea of stepping into something new, something unknown, can stir up fear and uncertainty. We are creatures of habit, and when things feel comfortable, we tend to resist change. But hear this today: change is not your enemy. It is the catalyst for your growth. God doesn't allow change in our lives just for the sake of shaking things up. He uses change to prepare us for greater things. When God shifts your situation, it's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something new, something better, is on the horizon. You might not see it yet, but God knows exactly what He's doing. The change you're afraid of is often the very thing you need to take you to your next level. Let's look at Abraham again. When God called him to leave everything behind and go to an unknown land, Abraham didn't know the specifics of where he was going or what was waiting for him. But he trusted that God was leading him to something greater. Change was the door to the promise. When you're faced with change, the temptation is to cling to what you know, to resist the unknown, and to stay in the comfort of familiarity. But remember, God often uses change to unlock new doors, new opportunities, and greater blessings. The change you fear could be the very breakthrough you've been praying for. As we continue, let's dive deeper into how embracing change can be the key to stepping into God's promises and greater purpose. The unknown might seem daunting, but it's often the very thing that leads to a future greater than you can imagine. Recap of the journey. In the last section, we explored how change is often a necessary catalyst for growth and new opportunities. Now, let's dive deeper into how your present circumstances don't define your future, and how trusting God during uncertain times can position you for greatness. We often feel the urge to hold on to what feels safe and familiar. It's human nature to resist the unknown, to stay in our comfort zones. But here's the truth: God often calls us to step into the unknown because that's where faith grows, where His power is revealed, and where new opportunities and blessings await. Don't be afraid to let go of the old season, because the new season brings with it new strength, wisdom, and blessings. Change isn't always easy. It can be uncomfortable, even painful. But if you trust that God is leading you, you can rest in the truth that He never brings you to a place without a purpose. Embrace the change, step out in faith, and know that God is using this moment to position you for something greater than you could ever imagine. Don't be afraid of what's next. God is already there, waiting for you. So many of us get trapped in the lie that our present circumstances define our future. We look at where we are right now, whether it's a struggle, a setback, or a season of waiting, and we begin to believe that this is all life will ever be. But hear me clearly today: your present does not define your future. Just because you're facing challenges now doesn't mean that's how it will always be. Just because you're in a tough season today doesn't mean you're destined to stay there forever. God specializes in turning things around. He takes situations that seem hopeless and brings them to life in ways we can't even imagine. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. His present situation looked bleak, but Joseph didn't stay there. He trusted that his circumstances weren't his final destination. And what happened? God used those very situations to position him for greatness. Joseph went from the prison to the palace and was used by God to save a nation. His present did not define his future. God did. Today, whatever you're facing, remember this: your future is in God's hands. Your circumstances may try to tell you one thing, but God's plan tells you something far greater. You are not stuck. You are being positioned, prepared, and shaped for the purpose God has for you. Your current reality is just the beginning, not the end. So, don't let where you are now make you think that's where you'll always be. God is moving you forward. Your present is just a chapter in the book, but it's not the whole story. Keep pressing forward, because the best is yet to come. Your future is brighter than you think, and God is already working behind the scenes to bring you into a place of abundance, peace, and purpose. Don't let today's struggles convince you that your future is limited. Your future is limitless. With God, in a world that demands instant results and quick fixes, perseverance is a trait that's often overlooked. Yet perseverance is key to unlocking what God has next for you. It's easy to start something with passion when things are going well, but real growth and breakthroughs happen when you keep pushing forward, even when it feels like nothing is happening. God is not only concerned with the destination, He's concerned with what happens on the journey. Every step you take, even when it feels like you're not moving forward, is part of His plan. As we continue, let's explore how perseverance in the waiting can shape us and strengthen our faith. God's plan is unfolding with every step we take, and He is with us through every moment of the journey. Keep trusting your breakthrough is on the way. Recap of the journey. In the last section, we delved into how perseverance is key to unlocking God's perfect plan. We learned that even in the toughest times, God is at work, refining us for what's ahead. Now, let's explore how letting go of control and trusting God's lead can bring true peace and purpose. Perseverance isn't just about enduring hard times. It's about allowing God to refine you in the waiting, in the struggle, and in the process. Think about the Apostle Paul. His journey wasn't smooth. He was shipwrecked, imprisoned, beaten, and mocked. Yet through it all, he persevered. Why? Because he knew that God was working in him and through him, even in the most difficult moments. Paul's perseverance led to a powerful ministry that reached the ends of the earth. If he had quit halfway through, we wouldn't have the letters, the encouragement, and the teachings that we hold dear today. Perseverance means moving forward even when the road is tough. It means not giving up when the promises seem distant, or when the struggle feels overwhelming. It's trusting that God is not finished with you yet. He is still working, still shaping, still preparing you for the breakthrough that's coming. So, when you feel like quitting, when the weight of the journey feels too heavy, remind yourself that your perseverance will bear fruit. God is working in ways you can't always see, and every step of faith you take is positioning you for the future He's promised. Keep going, keep trusting, because the reward for perseverance is always greater than the sacrifice. God honors those who don't give up. We live in a world that tells us to take control, to plan every detail, and to manage every outcome. We believe that if we hold tightly to the reins of our lives, we can steer our future in the direction we want. But here's something that might be uncomfortable to hear. True peace comes when you let go of control and trust God's lead. The truth is, you were never meant to carry the weight of control. It's exhausting, overwhelming, and ultimately leads to frustration. We may think we're in control, but we're not. Life happens. Things change. Doors close. Let's look at Abraham. Once again, God called him to leave everything he knew and follow him into the unknown. Abraham didn't have a map, a clear plan, or any guarantees about what was ahead. But what he did have was trust. He let go of his own need to control the outcome and chose to follow God's lead. And in letting go, Abraham stepped into the greatest blessings of his life. When you surrender control, you open yourself up to God's perfect will, His perfect timing, and His perfect plan. Control is a false sense of security. It makes us feel safe, but God's security is far greater than anything we can create for ourselves. He holds your future, your path, and your destiny in His hands. When you let go and trust Him, you're saying, God, I believe that you know what's best for me, even when I can't see it. So today, release the need to control. Surrender your plans, your fears, your anxieties, and trust that God will guide you to where you need to go. Let go of the weight that isn't yours to carry, and watch how God works in ways you could never have orchestrated on your own. He's got it all under control. All you need to do is follow His lead. As we continue, let's explore how stepping into the unknown and letting go of our need for control can open the door to unimaginable blessings. When we trust God's timing, He will lead us to the next chapter of our story, one far greater than we could ever have planned. Recap of the journey. In the previous section, we learned that letting go of control and trusting God opens the door to incredible blessings. Now, let's dive into how God's plans for your life are far greater than anything you could ever imagine, and how you're never alone in the journey. We all have moments when we imagine the best that life could offer, dreaming about the future and envisioning all the possibilities. Yet, despite our best ideas, God's plans for us are always bigger, grander, and more incredible than anything we can imagine. Sometimes, we get so focused on our own dreams that we forget how vast God's vision is for our lives. Here's the thing: our dreams are often limited by our experiences, our understanding, and our vision. But God sees the whole picture. He knows what you need, what you can handle, and what will bring glory to His name through your life. What may seem impossible to you is nothing for God. In fact, He can accomplish more in a moment than we could in a lifetime of trying. Think back to the story of Joseph. As a young boy, Joseph had big dreams of his family bowing down to him. But God's plans for Joseph were even bigger than his imagination. What Joseph didn't know at the time was that God was preparing him to save a nation and become second in command over Egypt. Joseph's dreams were just the beginning of what God had in store for him. God had a purpose that was far greater than anything Joseph could have imagined. In the same way, your plans may feel big to you, but God's plans are immeasurably greater. He has a purpose for you that goes beyond your comprehension. The Bible says in Ephesians 3:20, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us." If you could see the incredible future God has already prepared for you, it would blow your mind. You may not understand it now, but trust that God is taking you to places you've never dreamed of, places that will bring you closer to Him and fulfill His greater purpose for your life. So, when you find yourself dreaming big, remember this: God is dreaming even bigger for you. His plans for you go beyond anything you could ask or imagine. Trust Him, surrender your plans, and know that the best is yet to come. One of the greatest fears we face in life is the fear of being alone, especially when we're walking through unfamiliar or uncertain times. It's easy to feel like you're on your own, navigating the unknown with no one to turn to, no one to support you. But hear me clearly today. You are never alone in the unknown. God promises in His word that He will never leave you or forsake you. That means in every moment of uncertainty, in every season of waiting, and with every step you take toward the future, you are not alone. God is with you every step of the way. Think about the story of Moses. When God called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses felt overwhelmed. He questioned his ability, his worthiness, and his qualifications. But God didn't leave Moses to figure it out on his own. God said, "I will be with you," Exodus 3:12. When Moses was in the wilderness, when the path ahead seemed impossible, God was right there, guiding him, providing for him, and leading him to the promised dot. As we continue, let's explore how God's presence in the unknown is not just a comfort, but a source of strength. When you walk in His guidance, there's nothing to fear. The journey, no matter how uncertain, is filled with His constant care. Recap of the journey. In the previous section, we reflected on God's unwavering presence with us, even in the midst of the unknown. Now, let's explore how His promises are the anchor of our hope. Even when life feels uncertain and the path ahead seems unclear, just as God was with Moses as he led the Israelites to the promised land, He is with you today. When you're walking through life's challenges, when you find yourself standing at the edge of the unknown, don't ever think that God has left you behind. He is right there with you, surrounding you with His love, strength, and guidance. God knows what's next for you, and He will equip you for every step along the way. When you feel lonely, when the road ahead seems unclear, when fear tries to rise up and tell you that you're all alone, remember this: God is with you. You are not walking through the unknown on your own. You have a mighty God who walks beside you, who guides you, and who will never abandon you. Trust that you are covered by His presence and lean into that truth. He has already walked ahead to prepare the way, and He will continue to walk with you every step of the journey. When life feels uncertain, when you don't know what's next, and when the path ahead seems unclear, it's easy to lose hope. But hope is the anchor that keeps your soul steady in the storms of life. And the greatest source of hope you have is the promises of God. God's promises are not dependent on your circumstances. They are not shaken by the ebb and flow of life. His promises are eternal, unchanging, and powerful. When you put your hope in what God has promised, you are anchored to something far greater than your fleeting emotions or situations. You are anchored to God's truth. In the Bible, we see countless examples of God fulfilling His promises in ways that seemed impossible at the time. Abraham, Sarah, Noah, and David each faced moments of uncertainty, times when they couldn't see how things would work out. But they held on to God's promises, knowing that God is faithful to do what He said He would do. Take, for example, the story of the Israelites. They were enslaved in Egypt, oppressed and seemingly forgotten. Yet, God had promised to deliver them. Even though their present circumstances made it look impossible, God's promise of deliverance was stronger than their current reality. He parted the Red Sea, led them through the wilderness, and brought them into the land He had promised them. Today, you may not see the way ahead. You may be in a place of waiting, in a season where the next step seems unclear. But remember, God's promises still stand. He promises to never leave you, to guide you, to provide for you, and to give you a future filled with hope, no matter how difficult your circumstances may be. Remember that God is faithful to fulfill His promises. So, no matter what you're facing today, hold on to hope. Hope in God's promises is not wishful thinking. It's a confident expectation that what God has spoken over your life will come to pass. He knows what's next for you, and He is faithful to bring it to fruition. Your future is secure in His hands. Keep your hope anchored in His promises, because the best is yet to come. I want you to pause for a moment and think about where you are in life right now. Maybe you're facing uncertainty. Maybe you're standing at a crossroads, or maybe you're simply in a season of waiting. It's easy to get overwhelmed, to feel like you're walking blindly, unsure of what's ahead. But remember, God's promises are not just words, they are the foundation of your hope. As we continue, let's dive deeper into how those promises can guide and strengthen you through every moment of uncertainty. You may not have all the answers about what the future holds, and that's okay. But here's something that will change your perspective today. God knows exactly what's next for you. You may feel uncertain, but you have something better than answers. You have a God who sees the end from the beginning, a God whose plans are greater than your own, a God who is walking with you, guiding you, and preparing you for what's to come. When life feels uncertain, remember this: God is working behind the scenes. You are not alone in the unknown, and you are not left to figure it all out by yourself. His timing is perfect, His plans are flawless, and His love for you is unshakable. Every challenge you face, every setback, every season of waiting is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's a sign that He is preparing you for something greater. He's refining you, strengthening your faith, and positioning you for the blessings He has for you. You may not see it now, but God is working in ways you cannot yet understand. So let go of fear, let go of doubt. Trust that God's promises are true. You are on a journey, and though you may not know every step ahead, you can rest assured that God does. His plans for you are bigger than you can imagine, and the best is yet to come. Keep walking in faith, even when you can't see the way forward. God knows what's next for you, and His plans for your life are filled with purpose, peace, and a future that's brighter than you can even begin to comprehend. In conclusion, no matter where you are today, trust that your tomorrow is in God's hands. He knows exactly what's next for you, and when you put your trust in Him, He will lead you to places you never dreamed possible. Keep faith, keep hope, and know that your future is secure in His hands. As you move forward, remember that the best is still ahead of you. Trust in God's perfect timing and keep walking with confidence, knowing that His plans are already unfolding. You are being guided toward a future filled with purpose, peace, and endless possibilities.